Alright, even before I begin, here's some stuff you should already know at this point. First, Jaws is a movie about a shark that kills people. Duh. Next, because there was no PG-13 rating at the time, and because the movie didn't really have much in the way of sex and vulgar language, it was given a PG rating. Now I'll just say that one more time to make it clear. It was rated PG. Anyway, it made over $470 million at the box office. You know, according to Wikipedia, and it was the highest grossing film ever at the time. It was a horror film directed by Steven Spielberg, it was a wide release, distributed by a major studio, Universal Pictures, and it was highly promoted and marketed on television spots. AKA lots of people saw it. It also sort of defined the summer blockbuster. Sure, probably not being the first of its kind, but it was a great example of a highly promoted movie aimed toward a large audience. Okay, so with that being said, it scared the crap out of a lot of people. Now, I can bluntly say that for two different reasons. Number one, it shows up on a lot of top horror film and even scariest film lists. And even when the film is aged like it has, it still remains to be number 2 on AFI's top 100 thriller films. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the second scariest movie of all time, as of now, but you'd think that it would have to be at least remotely scary in order to make the top 100, you know, at least in the 70s. Because, you know, mainstream audiences 37 years ago weren't exactly used to seeing stuff like this. And now, the other reason why it had to have scared people way back in the day is because it actually led to many viewers' fear going into the ocean. Now, I don't necessarily have a testimonial to prove this, but, you know, I do have Wikipedia, so there's that. Reduced beach attendance in 1975 was attributed to it, as well as an increased number of reported shark sightings. And you know, it has to be real if it says it's real word for word on Wikipedia, right? Of course, yeah. Yeah, that was sarcasm. But seriously, being the summer blockbuster that it was, you may have actually been able to see less and less people show up at the beach day by day. And in this case, that's actually what happened. Now, scaring the beach attendants out of the public wasn't the only thing that changed when Jaws was released. Presumably, it generated a stereotype for all sharks that's still labeled upon them to this day, that they have nothing better to do than to eat your children at the beach. Or, you know, just people in general. I mean, here, look at this. This is the original 1975 trailer for Jaws, and just notice how immediately the narrator negatively begins to describe sharks.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil.
Now, I'm not really one to protect sharks by any means, but that's sort of harsh, isn't it? I mean, maybe not if you're describing Jaws alone, but for all sharks, that's sort of jumping the gun.
And without logic.
Well, that's mean.
A mindless eating machine.
Well, if you put it like that, it seems like all sharks do is just eat stuff, you know? Sharks can do lots of other things, like they can, well, they can swim, you know? And, well, they can swim.
It is as if God created the devil.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just go ahead and call the shark satanic while we're at it, yeah. Whatever. Eventually, once you get past the fact that even mammals can be stereotyped, it can probably be accepted as one of the main reasons as of why people hated sharks even more than they already did. But anyway, speaking of satanic man-eating things, it was sort of a popular trend for horror movies back in the 70s, conveniently occurring right after Jaws' release. There was a great variety of this kind of stuff in the 70s, like, Orca, the story of a killer whale. Grizzly, the story of a killer grizzly bear, and Piranha, if you honestly haven't realized the pattern at this point, is a movie about killer piranhas. These movies, essentially, were just trying to copy the Jaws formula. Even when it was as incredibly simple as it was, they only hoped it was half as good as the original when they put it in their films. It was safe to say that they weren't very good, or at least most of them weren't. All the time while Hollywood was trying to recapture the magic of Jaws, which, by the way, is really weird to say, Jaws was actually trying to do the exact same thing by making itself bigger, more epic, and hypothetically better, with sequels. Yeah, that's right. Jaws had sequels. It had 3 of them. and they all got worse with each one. And then there was Jaws 2. Made in 1978, it was not directed by Steven Spielberg, and it spent way more than Jaws 1, but it only made half the money. According to Rotten Tomatoes, 53% of the reviews were positive, which is actually pretty bad considering that the original got, 100%. And then there was Jaws 3. Jaws 3D, made in 1983D, it was directed by another guy nobody cares about, and it got 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. And finally, because Jaws 4 would have been way too simple, there was Jaws The Revenge, which was made in 1987, and it received a full flat-out 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yikes. Anyway, later, Steven Spielberg went on to make such classic movies as 1941, Hook, Indiana Jones 4, and, a couple of other things. And actually, just recently, there's an entire documentary about the legacy of Jaws. Sort of about the stuff that I was talking about a while ago. But, yeah, it's still yet to even come out. And as far as it goes, that's it. That's pretty much it. There's nothing left to do except, play the credit. Okay, that's it.